This is Ashley.
And Cindy.
And this is Life for Dummies.
Because we're real dumb.
You have no idea.
For real. I mean, I think they're starting to grasp that,
Yeah, didn't somebody say something to you in Starbucks the other day? Like, what was going on?
Yeah, he was like, I saw you. We're real dumb. Like, yep, we sure are.
Dumb over here.
Ding, 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 winner. That's me.
Hey guys, we're so pumped that you're listening. Thanks so much for getting us to 5,000 subscribers. Woo! And now we're aiming for 10,000. We can't wait to get there with you. Let us know what you want to hear. Comment, like, share, and
whenever we fight, she pack up and shit up and dip. That shit annoying and shit. Days go by and weeks go by, I stay. Now I'm all alone in the crib, texting and calling, no answer.
What are we talking about today, Sin?
Today we're going to talk about intrusive thoughts.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so fun. You ever have those moments where it's like a hamster wheel, right? This thought just keeps coming in your mind and it's around and around and you just can't get away from it.
Okay, well, why don't you start us off there?
Yeah, so this happens to me a lot, unfortunately, even till this day. You know, I will get a thought in my mind and, it's kind of scary that this still happens, right? Like, I've come a long way, but I still have really far to go. And that's the thing, like, this never stops. This thinking problem that I have, I like to call it a thinking problem because that's what it is. I have a diseased mind that just sometimes isn't right. And sometimes I can get on this wheel of this intrusive thought where it's like, you know what? Everything would be great if this was just perfect. Whatever that it is for you. For me lately, it's been, well, if you just lost a little more weight, things would be great, you know? And that's scary for me because as you guys know, we have talked about here, I suffer from an eating disorder. And that is dangerous territory. But those intrusive thoughts keep coming. And so it's what I do with that thought that counts, right?
Yeah, I was listening to someone recently, and I really liked how he had mentioned that when he had got here to this new way of life, he was delusional. And it reminded me of me. Like, I was so delusional because everything that I thought was actually incorrect. Most of it was fantasy, and I projected a lot. And then he went on to say, and today I'm still delusional. And I was like, yeah, man, me too. I am sick. You know, like, this is a brain disease and it is a terminal illness and it does want me, it wants us dead, right? And so we do every single day have to work on it for maintaining that peaceful state of mind.
Yeah, and I like what you said about it wants me dead. You know, and I truly believe that. So I have this disease within me or a dis-ease within me that makes me feel not good enough, not okay, not pretty enough, not thin enough, not smart enough. All the enoughs, right? And so these thoughts can keep occurring in my brain all the time. And the end result is it wants me dead. So what am I going to do about it? How am I going to combat that? Now, luckily for Ashley and I, we've had some time living this new way of life, and we have some experience with this where we know certain things to do. So one of the main things that I can do in order to get rid of these intrusive thoughts is talk about it. And it's really uncomfortable and yucky.
Yeah, like getting it out of us. What is that saying where it's like once shared, half lessened?
Pain shared is pain lessened.
And a lot of the times, like, when I'm typically struggling internally, it's too hard for me to pick up the phone and call someone.
Yeah, the phone weighs like 10,000 pounds.
Yeah, girl, I was talking to somebody even just last night, and I was like, how you doing? You know, you doing okay? And that was exactly what is going on. Like, she's just stuck in her head and unable to pick up the phone, even though there's so much pain inside. I don't know what it has to do with, like, is it a character defect or is it fear or is it growing up, or is it isolation and loneliness just being the comfort zone? What's going on there?
I think it's pretty much all of those things combined. I can never pinpoint it. It's not just one thing, it's a combination of things. And usually, when everything's going really great, that's when these thoughts come in. And that's when, you know, it goes back to my diseased mind, my diseased thinking, where it just wants to grasp a hold of me and get me away from all this good that's happening. So, like I said, I can talk about it, I can share about it, I can call someone and say, hey, this is what's happening, because our secrets die in the exposure of the light, right? So that's like a huge thing. Talk about it, get it out, don't hide it, don't keep it a secret, because when it's a secret, it will grow and it will continue to, burn even brighter in your mind. I like to think of it that way. So that's one way to deal with it, talk about it. Another thing that's really helpful is to sit down and write about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I just lost my train of thought. I don't know. It just completely left me. But yes, writing about what's going on inside has always kind of relieved me and lifted the pressure.
Yeah, so I like to think of writing as trying to make sense out of the nonsense in my head. That's what I like to think of it as. It helps me make sense of what's going on inside, because sometimes it makes no sense at all and I don't understand where it comes from. But if I sit down and I put pen to paper, usually I feel better afterwards, and two, I can try to make some sense out of the nonsense.
Yeah, totally. I just remembered what I was going to say. We've talked a lot about how these negative thoughts or these intrusive thoughts most of the time speak to us in our own voice, right? So it's really hard to tell the difference, like, oh, that's not me, that's the disease. Oh, that's something else trying to beat me up and feel bad about myself. Shoot, right? And that's where reaching out for help is really vital and important, because if it's just me trying to fight this by myself, like, I lose before I even get started.
Absolutely, because like you said, it lies to me in my own voice. And it sounds so good, like, yeah, that's a great idea. So, yes, I definitely have to call someone and run it by them, because my best thinking got me to the point in my life where I thought suicide was a great idea. That's where my best thinking got me to a certain time. So, yeah, and it can still take me right back there. So I have to know that, what, I don't have all the answers, and it's okay to ask for help. And it doesn't make me weak, it makes me strong. Asking for help is the strongest, bravest thing I can possibly do. Raising my hand and saying, I don't have all the answers, that's powerful.
For me, it was like I was so frozen that I couldn't act. It was like I had to say the right thing or do the right thing. So picking up that phone, I needed to already pre-populate what exactly I was going to say in order to come across perfect. It was like I held myself to such a high standard that I never even let myself recover.
And that's it. You held yourself to that standard. I hold myself, Ash, we hold ourselves to standards that are just ridiculous and unattainable. It's just not. And when I do that, then I'm creating unrealistic expectations of myself. And then I have nowhere to go but fall. So, you know what the best thing to do? I just really don't have any expectations at all. All I have expectations of is I'm not going to use today no matter what, and I try to do better today than I did yesterday. That's how simple I keep it, and that keeps the thoughts at bay, that keeps those expectations at bay. It just keeps me in this place of peace and happiness, and that's what I want.
The other thing that I like to do is focus on the good, because whenever I start to kind of focus on the good, the bad seems to dissipate. And it's not like I try to fight the bad. Instead, what happens is it just goes away on its own.
Yeah, it goes back to remaining in a state of gratitude, right? We've talked about that before here. When I remain in a state of gratitude and I'm grateful and I focus on the good instead of the bad, then things just seem to go my way and things just seem to be so much easier and happier in my mind.
Yeah, and like for me, gratitude was hard in the beginning. And to be honest, it still is hard because I have a daily reprieve, right, from the disease of addiction. And so every day I go real easy on myself. If I wake up just even a little bit off, I'll be like, okay, today Ashley's going to go easy on herself. Ashley's going to give herself grace. Because you know how we talk about, like, you never know everyone's fighting in their inner battles? It works the same for us. Like, we all have things that we're dealing with internally, and it's much better to find compassion with ourselves than to just be part of the problem and beat ourselves up as well. And so for me, it's kind of like, if I don't wake up in gratitude, getting that gratitude can be hard, even today. But the best way for me to get it is to actually break out a piece of pen or paper or notepad on my device and just start thinking of 2, 3 things that I'm grateful for. And it's as simple as, hey, man, I'm glad I'm alive.
Absolutely. Gratitude speaks for itself. It really does. And I was told a long time ago that grateful addicts don't use. That's what I was taught. And so I try to remain grateful, and I do that. So I write on I have a gratitude journal that I keep next to my bed. And every morning and every night, I write 3 things in that gratitude journal, what I'm grateful for and why. Because when I bring it back to the why and I write about that, it makes me, realize that, wow, my life is so much different than it used to be. And it's really a quick trip in my mind to take it back to, oh, it's not that great. So if you get anything from this today, just know that these thoughts, it's totally, I think, human to think like this. And part of this way of life is retraining your brain to think in a totally different manner. And that's hard in itself.
And we're here for you. I mean, that's why we are talking about it. You can write these things in the comments if you want. Suicide is no joke. Like, thoughts of suicide, both Cindy and I have struggled with it over the years and have gotten real close to actually killing ourselves through the disease of our addiction. And the fact of the matter is that when I'm in that really dark place of despair and isolation, essentially it just feels like there's no hope in the world. And at that point, it's a lost cause. It's almost like there's no one I know that can help me. And that's one of the reasons why we're here. The internet is pervasive, it's everywhere, and we want to be there for the people who are in the dark. So feel free to make comments, to write, to reach out. It might be something that saves your life.
Ato, 行くぞ。